Do you know that we can really turn the tide when it comes to abortion and saving baby lives? History is about to be in the making.
It's time for The Line of Fire with your host, activist, author, international speaker, and theologian, Dr. Michael Brown, your voice of moral, cultural, and spiritual revolution. Michael Brown is the director of the Coalition of Conscience and president of Fire School of Ministry. Get into The Line of Fire now by calling 866-34-TRUTH. That's 866-34-TRUTH. Here again is Dr. Michael Brown.
Friends, it's not every day that you get to participate in historic events. It's not every day where you can do something that really makes a tangible, major difference in many, many lives. This Saturday, December 2nd, is one of those days. Everyone listening to me on all of our great stations all over North Carolina, everyone listening, watching online, or by other means, and you're anywhere near Charlotte, North Carolina, please do your best to join us this Saturday, December 2nd, for History in the Making. And everyone listening, watching from around the world, please join us in prayer. This is going to be a critically important time. Listening to Michael Brown, this is The Line of Fire, talking about a very important event about to take place this Saturday, Love Life Charlotte. And the man behind this event, Justin Reeder, is going to join us now. Tell us more about this. But friends, we're talking about saving baby lives in a tangible way, making a statement for the world to see, sending a message to churches and cities around America. No hype. We're telling you the truth today here on The Line of Fire. Justin, it's great to have you with us. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Dr. Brown, it's an honor to be with you, man, and thank you for all you do for advancing the kingdom of God in our city.
Well, it's a joy to partner together, Justin. And as you have had this dream in your heart for years now, you've seen much fruit already, and we're going to talk about that. We're not going to be in any rush. I want to get everything out for our listeners to hear. I want to encourage folks around America with this good news. But Justin, when did God drop it in your heart that you were supposed to make a difference in the city of Charlotte, North Carolina, when it came to sin of abortion and the goal of saving baby lives?
Yeah, so the seed was planted in my heart in 2012. I had some business friends here in the city that invited me out to the abortion clinic to share with me what I call the tragic truth about Charlotte. And that's the day that I really came face to face with abortion. I always would have considered myself pro-life. I'm a business guy here in the city. I've owned a business here for 12 years. Not a pastor, but was focused on building my business, doing ministry in my business. But when I came face to face with that abortion clinic in 2012, things changed for me. When I heard that abortion is the leading cause of death in our city, more death is happening on Latrobe Drive than is happening through cancer or heart disease or anything else in our city. That we have the largest abortion clinic in the Southeast, right here in our backyard. Not in Atlanta, not in Miami, but in Charlotte, North Carolina. We have 150 to 200 abortions happening every week. I got to tell you, man, when I came face to face with that, I couldn't help but begin thinking about, man, if this was happening at an elementary school, or happening anywhere else in our city where 20 or 30 people were dying inside of a building, it'd be national news in a matter of seconds. Not only that, but there would be police running to the scene. There would be ambulance running to the scene. And even the local church would be running to the scene, as we should be. But that day, and for many years, there's been only a handful of people that have been on the scene. Some of our partnering ministries like Cities for Life and Hope Crisis Center Monroe. But there's 1,000 churches in Charlotte, North Carolina. We have almost more churches per capita than anywhere else in America. I thought, man, we can do so much better than this. So that's when the seed was planted in my heart to mobilize the church.
All right, friends, I'm just going to jump in here. You've got to hear the good news of the difference that has been made. When we come back, I want to tell you how you can be involved, how you can make a major difference. I want to present to you a unique way that you can partner together with me to reach Jewish people with the good news of Jesus, Yeshua, the Messiah. Hey, Paul wrote that the gospel is to the Jew first, but many of us don't know how to reach the Jewish people with the gospel. Can I tell you, we have a unique open door and Jewish people are ready to hear, but we need your help. When I was in Israel recently, my last hour in Jerusalem, about a dozen different people came up to me and they wanted to thank me for the impact of our message. One Jewish woman came up to me, a believer in Jesus. She said, "You saved my son's life. He was falling away. He was getting pulled by other objections to Jesus. He read your material. He's back in the faith." A young man came up to me. He said he and his Orthodox Jewish friends, here he is, I mean, with the yarmulke, the head covering, the traditional Jewish outfit, he said he and his Jewish friends, his Orthodox friends, watch my debates with rabbis. A few years ago, I was able to lead a Holocaust survivor to faith in Jesus. He was a brilliant man, an atheist who had fled the Holocaust. He read my books on answering Jewish objections to Jesus, came to faith, led his wife to the Lord before they left this world. Friends, we have the resources. We have books ready to be translated in Hebrew to be distributed in Israel. We have our Real Messiah website, unique for reaching Jewish people, Orthodox Jews with the gospel, ready to be translated in Hebrew, ready to do internet campaigns to get into every home in Israel. Every cell phone in Israel can have this message, but we need your help. Every gift to our ministry will literally help us reach another Jewish person with the good news of Jesus the Messiah. Go to askdrbrown.org. AskDrBrown.org, and when you go there, we will partner together to bring salvation to Israel and the Jewish people. Together, we're making a great difference.
Now is the time to reach the lost sheep of the house of Israel, to share in this end-time harvest of Jewish souls, and to find out how to receive this 2-DVD set, Predestination, Election, and the Will of God Debate. Go to AskDrBrown.org and click the TV banner.
Again is Dr. Michael Brown.
All right, friends, I want to tell you how you can be a part of a major event in the pro-life movement. In the history of the pro-life movement, this could be one of the largest events in terms of specific focus in front of an abortion clinic with a message of hope, with a message of life. In a moment, I want to tell you about some of the good things that are happening, lives being saved, families being saved. I want to talk to you about that in a moment. My guest, Justin Reeder, who leads Love Life Charlotte, a businessman who in 2012 got a burden to do something to make a difference. Justin, let's make sure everyone knows what's happening and where. So this Saturday, give our listeners the details for Love Life Charlotte.
Yeah, so this Saturday we are calling 7,000 people to come together for a prayer walk at Latrobe Drive, where the clinic is, the largest one in the Southeast. We're asking people to start arriving around 7:30 in the morning. We're going to have parking over at the Park Expo. We'll be shuttling people over where the prayer walk will begin there on Latrobe Drive. So please arrive early, carpool if you can. I'm telling you, you're not going to miss it. Calling for the remnant. We're calling for the 7,000 who will not bow a knee to fail. Remnant in our rise up. Incredible day. You don't want to miss it.
And how many churches have participated in Love Life Charlotte up to now?
We've had over 100 churches partner with us all across the denomination line. We've had over 18,000 people that have participated in our prayer walk up to this.
All right. And in terms of results, on the one hand, the people participating are impacted. I was talking with our daughters over dinner for one of our grandson's birthdays the other day, and we were talking about things we had done over the years, and our daughters were talking about how they were arrested with me in D.C. years back when we were part of Operation Rescue, and I remember when it was taking place that I said to myself, this may not be the best way to stop abortion from happening on this particular day because everyone was cleared out pretty soon. I thought, but the lasting impact on everyone who participates, the vision, the burden you get, the weeping, the tears, the reality, the love, it stays with you forever. And those participating will be impacted. Those who have participated will be impacted. But what about results in terms of babies being saved? Are you actually seeing anything? It's wonderful to have a presence at the clinics. It's wonderful to have this prayer walk. But over the last year, have you seen any tangible fruit?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's been incredible. As the church has been coming out and mobilizing and praying and fasting, now over 800 families that have chosen life at the abortion clinic in the last 2 years, the past 2 years that we've been doing this. Not only that, but we've seen a 70% drop in abortion on Wednesdays and Saturdays, the 2 days of concentrated prayer in our city. And we know that when light shows up, darkness has to leave. We're seeing it manifest now in our city. And we believe the scripture, Matthew 16:18, that the gates of hell will not prevail against the church. That's where we're calling the church to come out. This is not up for a politician, the legislation to fix this. God has called the Church of Jesus Christ to respond to this. And he tells us in Matthew 16:19, whatever we bind on earth, we bound in heaven. Whatever we loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. We're seeing that happen as the church is responding.
So we come into harmony with God down here on earth, and then God does what he is determined to carry out to save lives, and he does it through us. We are his co-workers, and if we just stay home, if we don't share the gospel, people don't get saved. If we don't pray, certain things don't happen. If we don't reach out in front of abortion clinics, these lives will not be saved. So when you say more than 800 families in the last 2 years have chosen life, you're talking about a mother or a couple that were there on their way to have an abortion, and they met with people who talked with them, prayed with them, and decided not to have the abortion. This is something you've actually tracked.
Correct. Yes, sir. And just to give you one story out of the 800, we could go on for hours about this, but this is a real miracle that we're praying for, Dr. Brown, is for hearts to be turned to the Father.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about an abortion clinic closing. The real miracle is hearts being turned to the Lord. And we had a mom that came out recently that was on a Wednesday. Churches were praying and fasting that day. Came out on a Wednesday, chose life for her baby, gave her heart to the Lord on Thursday, was partnered with a Love Life mentor on Friday, and then came to our prayer walk on Saturday, was in church on Sunday. Wow. That's the miracle that we're after, and that's what we're seeing happen in our city at an incredible rate.
And some of the mothers or couples decide to have their baby, and then there are groups that help with baby showers and things like that. There are others, I imagine, that decide they want to give their child up for adoption and are pointed in the right direction. So this is not just someone standing in front of an abortion clinic saying, don't kill your baby. This is someone saying there's hope and life, and we want to help stand with you, not just today, but in the days ahead.
Right. Yeah, so our whole mission is to unite and mobilize the church, create a culture of love and life that will result to an end to abortion. So we're believing for families to stop running to the local abortion clinic for the answer, begin running to the local church. And the way that we're doing that is getting the church to be engaged, first through prayer and fasting. I believe that's where it starts, when our heart gets aligned with the Father's heart. But then coming out on Saturdays and letting it become personal, let it become real for them, the same way it did for me in 2012. Then we call the church further. We call them to become mentors. We train them, we equip them, be mentors to walk side by side with these families. It's really the story of the Good Samaritan. It's stopping, it's getting in the ditch with these families. And then we have families that are now being mobilized into foster care, adoption here in our city. We have front lines ministry teams. And so it's an all-around approach of building and shaping a culture of love and life where families can start trusting the church and they begin running to the local church instead of the abortion clinic.
All right, and the website, again, so folks can go and find out everything they need to. Where do they go, Justin?
Go to lovelifecharlotte.com.
All right, lovelifecharlotte.com to find out more. You might say, well, I live in Raleigh or Winston-Salem, or I live in Fort Mill, South Carolina. I live in one of these different places. No problem. Everyone that comes makes a difference. Drive in if you can. And to have numbers like this, Justin, if 7,000 people actually show up in front of an abortion clinic, this would be one of the largest, if not the largest, turnouts in the history of the pro-life movement in terms of making your presence felt in front of an abortion clinic. This is a major event, correct?
Yes, sir. I mean, last year for week 40, we do this. We're out there every single week, but that week 40, which is the culmination of the whole 40-week journey of hope, call all of our churches back together, and of course, we're calling everybody to join us. Last year, week 40, we had over 4,000 people there. This year, we're expecting over 7,000 people. The church is awakening. The church is mobilizing in our city, and it's incredible to see. And yes, it is going to be a historic day for our city. So please come out, be a part of this change in our city.
And friends, I'm looking at an article on liveaction.org, and it says abortions have dropped 20% over the last 10 years. This is an article just from a couple days back. A newly released abortion statistics report from the Centers for Disease Control reveals a reduction in the number of abortions reported in 2014. According to the CDC, over the last 10 years, abortion has seen a significant drop in the United States with a 20% decrease. Justin, we're still talking about horrific numbers of babies being aborted, and yet we are making a difference. There are a number of states now that only have one abortion clinic. You say, well, it's making it harder for women to have abortions. Well, that's the goal, and help them, not make it harder to have abortions and end there, but help them to choose life, give them a reason to, help them to understand the humanity of the child within the mother's womb. So, Justin, as folks have gotten involved, we've just got a minute before this break, but as people have gotten involved, done these marches, what's happened to them? What kind of stories do you hear from people who've participated for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing so many ripple effects to all this. Of course, the unity and the mobilization of the church is a miracle in itself, but healing and restoration within the church, because we know the stat is 1 in 3 women, 1 in 3 men will have an abortion in their lifetime. So many people within the body of Christ that have not experienced the healing that is needed. We have testimony after testimony after testimony, week after week, people coming forward saying, hey, I had an abortion, or I had 2 abortions, or I had 5 abortions, or I paid for abortions. And coming out here today is the first time I've ever come back to an abortion clinic since that moment. And it has helped me in my healing process.
Wow.
So it's helping the church heal. It's giving them now an opportunity to stand in the gap for the families, to pray for them. As many have reported, they wish somebody was there the day they went to the abortion clinic to offer them hope, to give them real life resources. So healing and restoration within the church.
Incredible. All right, friends, we've got a few more minutes with Justin Reeder. Saturday, Charlotte, December 2nd. Be there. You don't need a PhD to know that our world is in serious trouble. All it takes is one glance at your social media feed to see that we're at a critical time, not just in our nation's history, but in world history. And this generation of believers is facing an unprecedented barrage of attacks against the truth of the gospel, and they're coming from 1,000 different directions. If ever there was a time for the body to speak out, to raise a righteous standard, and to be a beacon of hope in the midst of a sea of despair, now is that time. Through preaching and teaching and radio and writing and social media, God's given us a voice. I mean, by His grace, many, many lives have been impacted for the gospel around the world. So it's for that reason I want to take you behind the scenes here at Ask Dr. Brown, let you know about some of the exciting projects we're involved in, and share with you how you can help us fulfill this great mandate from the Lord in this battle for the hearts and minds of a whole generation. Over the last several months, our studio has undergone a massive overhaul. We have put thousands of dollars into revamping what is basically our command central. This studio is not just used to produce the Line of Fire radio broadcast, but we also produce in this studio hundreds of YouTube videos that you see, as well as our media for other ministry outlets like God TV and NRB TV. So this studio is really the heartbeat of everything, all the media that we produce at Ask Dr. Brown. And now we are ready to step into a whole new realm, and we can do it with your help. So I'm asking you today to to partner with us. Through your generous donations, we can fulfill this mandate from the Lord in this battle for the hearts and minds of a whole generation. And you can help amplify my voice. Friends, stand with us today. Together, we're making a difference.
It's The Line of Fire with your host, Dr. Michael Brown, your voice of moral, cultural, and spiritual revolution. Here again is Dr. Michael Brown.
Thanks, friends, for joining us on The Line of Fire. Not taking any calls right now as I speak with Justin Reeder from Love Life Charlotte. Justin, I remember having you on the air last year to talk about things, and I knew that what you were doing was important, but I didn't know how articulate you'd be, how long the interview would go. And I was thrilled to hear not just the burden, but the clarity of thought that God had given you. And I thought, you know, here you are with a business background. You haven't been in, quote, full-time ministry. You haven't been on the front lines of the pro-life movement as an activist all your life. You're not a pro-life author. And I thought, here you are, articulate, clear-headed, understand the problem, understand the solution, understand where the gospel undergirds all this. And I thought to myself, you know, people who want to make excuses, well, I'm just a businessman, I'm just a mom at home. No, that's all God has, is just people who make themselves available. And obviously you stepped out by faith to do it, and you've had supernatural blessing. You have been able to rally people behind a cause better than just about anybody I know in the city. And you did it without all the background, which is an indictment to everybody else sitting on the sidelines. And now all you need is for people to show up. I'm scheduled to fly out to India on Saturday. We're having to make sure my tickets work, that I can leave after the prayer walk, because some shifts have just taken place with some flights. But I just know I just need to be a physical body there, full of love for Jesus and love for people. Just show up. And by showing up, I make a difference. What if there are 7,000? What if there are 8,000? What if there are 10,000? You know, what if these numbers are realized, and the city of Charlotte, the media, other cities see this? What kind of message does this send to the nation?
I believe it says that the culture is changing. It's changing to a culture of love and life, where we love these little ones, love the moms and dads, and we church are ready to stand up with them. You know, I believe that the culture of love and life looks like church sacrificing, laying their lives down so that others can live. It's the love of Jesus in action. That's what a culture of love and life looks like, and I believe that will be shown as thousands come to this place. And we're asking for people to come take their place. You know, again, I was a business guy. I believe there's no separation between marketplace and ministry. We have Jesus in our heart. It's always full-time ministry.
Yeah.
So if you're a nurse in a hospital, if you're a business guy, if you're a student in school, doesn't matter. If you have Jesus in your heart, you are in full-time ministry. And we're asking you to come take your place in our city. You know, we're all called to this mission. It's just a matter of who's going to answer the call. You know, and Nehemiah's time has come and gone. Moses' time has come and gone. Joseph's time has come and gone. But we're telling everybody, listen, this is our time, our city. This is our generation. These are our children. We got to start viewing it as that these are our children. We all have the same creator. This is our brother and our sister that's in the ditch right here in our backyard. So come take your place. Be counted on this day. Not going to miss it.
All right. So friends, listen. This is where whole families come out. This is what you bring your family to, okay? This is where moms, dads, kids come out. This is where kids learn these values from their parents. And all we need is walking human beings. Can you walk? If you're in a wheelchair, can someone push you in a wheelchair? We're just looking for people to be there. You don't have to preach. You don't have to be on the news and do an interview in the secular media. All you need to do is be there. And friends, to me, this is the privilege of a lifetime. Others have done the hard work. Others, friends and colleagues of mine, are out in front of abortion clinics week in, week out. I commend everyone. Some of you, nobody knows your name, but you have given yourselves for years taking stands for the unborn, getting spat on, getting hated on, getting vilified, sometimes even getting struck by others, and you've been there to love and to speak the truth and to offer hope and to offer life. We are all indebted to you who've been there week in, week out. Now here's something where everyone just has to show up. So again, Justin, tell us what time and where.
I want to encourage everyone this Wednesday to be praying and fasting with us. All across our city, we're expecting 20,000 people to be praying and fasting this Wednesday. Join with us for that. But then on Saturday, the prayer walk is starting at 9 o'clock, 9 in the morning. We're asking people to start arriving at 7:30. All of the details are on our website, lovelifecharlotte.com. You can RSVP there. But come, join us, bring your children. I bring my kids, my wife with me every Saturday out there for the prayer walk. I promise you, our children are watching us. My little 2-year-old looked at me last year and he said, "Daddy, I'm watching you. I'm watching you pray. I'm watching you pray." Come on, our little children are watching us. See if we really believe this thing or not. I want to make this declaration that we are here to win. We're here to win the battle, Dr. Brown. Jeremiah 5:28 says they pleaded the case of the fatherless not to win it. I believe that's a rebuke for us today as well. I'm telling you, we're now pleading it to win it. We're on the verge of major breakthrough in the city of Charlotte. Join with us, lock arms with us, bring your family, bring your friends. You won't want to miss this historic day.
And friends, what happens in Charlotte, this is a known city. This is not just obscure somewhere. No one's ever heard of it. We have enough attention on us. We're a growing city in the nation. There's been much focus on North Carolina in recent months for various reasons. A message of hope and encouragement can be sent. Just think, this could spread to city after city all over America. You're talking about a gospel revolution, a moral and cultural gospel-backed revolution of life. Hey, Justin, thank you for all you're doing and look forward very much to seeing you this Saturday.
Thank you so much for having me on, Dr. Brown. See you on Saturday.
God bless you. Thanks so much. All right, friends, there you heard it. Spread the word. Tell your friends. If for some reason you can't be there, you can tell your friends, can't you? And if you don't live in this area, but you have folks that live in the greater Charlotte, North Carolina area, let them know. Share with them. We come back. I want to tell you an experience I had in front of an abortion clinic years ago as well. All right, friends, today is what's known as Giving Tuesday. Folks came up with this to support nonprofits, to support ministries, different organizations after Thanksgiving, after holiday spending, Giving Tuesday. And we have put out some email requests in recent days saying, would you stand with us at the end of the year? Year-end tax-deductible gift would mean so much to us. And I leave for India on Saturday. Again, it's an expensive trip to take. And then while we're there just to give, obviously not to receive. We come back later. Going to be just in studio for a couple of days, working for hours and hours and hours, recording outreach shows for Jewish people in the land of Israel, the greatest open door we've ever had for ministry in Israel in our lives, overflowing with gratitude, but we could really use your help. It's an important time of the year, paying bills, meeting needs, it gets tight, and we are super frugal. You have no idea how frugal we are with the funds that come in. So stand with us. Your year-end gift of any size, wherever you're watching, listening around the world, your one-time gift will mean so much to us. Go right now to AskDrBrown.org, AskDrBrown.org. Click on Donate. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for partnering with us.
Dr. Brown, why is it so important that we maintain gender distinctions?
You know, it's not just a theological thing that God made us male and female. This is what makes the world go round. And every child has a mother and a father. It doesn't work without that. Once we start to say, no, gender is not what's between your legs. Gender is what's between your ears. Gender is what you perceive it to be. As someone told me, it's primitive to define gender based on biology and chromosomes. Then the sky is the limit. You can shift your gender back and forth by the minute. In point of fact, Facebook came up with 50 different ways to describe your gender, including 10 simultaneously, but that wasn't enough, so they had to add in fill in the blank. When you start to have gender-neutral bathrooms in elementary schools and gender-neutral locker rooms in public fitness places, you start to see the social and moral insanity of it. I have compassion on people who struggle, but once gender becomes the enemy, you have societal madness. So it is incumbent on us to celebrate gender distinctions, to enjoy gender distinctions. This is what makes the world go round. When you declare war on gender, you declare war on the foundations of the human race, and you cannot perpetuate society doing that.
Speaker and theologian Dr. Michael Brown. Your voice of moral, cultural, and spiritual revolution. Get into the line of fire now by calling 866-34-TRUTH. Here again is Dr. Michael Brown.
I've got a question for you. I don't know how much you've thought about this, but, you know, there's a whole lot of shaking going on in our society. Is there not? My question is, how much of that has to do with God raising up Donald Trump, use the words of my friend Lance Wallnau, as God's chaos candidate or a divinely appointed, quote, wrecking ball? How much of the shaking in our society ties directly to the presidency of Donald Trump, for better or for worse, whether you are a foe or friend of the president? How much of the shaking ties in with him? This is Michael Brown. Thanks so much for joining us today on the Line of Fire. The number to call, 866-34-TRUTH, 866-348-7884. I wrote an article last night, my latest article, about Donald Trump and the divine shaking phenomenon. And in my latest article, Donald Trump and the principle of divine upheaval, you can read it on our website, and it's posted on many other websites. I discussed the fact that there's shaking that has come. Someone like a Donald Trump brings stuff to the surface. Now, whether you are zealously supporting Donald Trump or zealously opposing Donald Trump, he's the type of figure that does not produce neutrality or indifference. You're either for him or against him. For the most part, that's the way someone like Trump is used, and that's the type of reaction someone like Trump gets. You either love him or you hate him. Again, I'm speaking in general terms. I know not everyone falls in there, but come on, just bring up his name over a casual family dinner with relatives from different backgrounds and perspectives and talk about stirring things up. When you have someone like him, as bold as he is and as bombastic as he is, some would say he's fearless, others would say he's foolish. When you have someone like that, it brings stuff up to the surface. You're with me on that. And there are things that are obvious, right? The divisions between Democrat and Republican, the biases in the media on the left and on the right, the divisions within the Republican Party, what I might call swamp dwellers and swamp drainers, right? Those come up to the surface. Yeah, we had racial tension in America, but it's exacerbated now. We've had now the clearer emerging of the alt-right and the radical left. You follow me? That these things are getting clearer and clearer through the presence of a Donald Trump. Again, for better or for worse, I think regardless of which side you're on, you can agree with what I'm saying. So I began to wonder, look at all the shaking taking place in society. Look at all the upheaval taking place. So much of it has to do with sex scandals. And I asked myself the question, and I address it in the article. Could there be a connection between these sex scandals? Connection between the sex scandals and the presidency of Donald Trump? That one person after another, there's a list I saw of over 50 prominent men, be it in Hollywood or Congress or media, that have been the butt of sexual misconduct allegations. And Could be that many or most or almost all are guilty as charged. Why is this happening now? So I want to talk to you about that. And then I want to give you some thoughts as to how Congress might end up cleaning up its own act, like it or not. And then an important pro-life announcement for you as well. Whole lot to come your way right here on The Line of Fire. It's been a beautiful spring day in the suburbs of Pennsylvania on this Thursday, June 7th, 1961. You just got home from work and your wife's almost finished preparing one of her typically delicious dinners. Tonight is TV night and everybody's ready to enjoy Ozzie and Harriet and Leave It to Beaver. Of course, a live in-person show is incredible. Who could forget your family outing 2 weeks ago when you all drove into Manhattan and saw My Fair Lady on Broadway? But TV has its own unique appeal, especially with shows like Lassie and Andy Griffith and Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color and Father Knows Best and the Flintstones. And they're all on at night so the whole family can enjoy them together. Well, on this lovely spring night, you're a bit more tired than you realize, fighting to stay awake through the current Beaver episode, even though it's a bit more suspenseful than normal. But this night, you doze off just before the end of the program, and when you wake up a few minutes later, everything's changed. Well, the TV's still there, except it's giant now, flat, hanging on a wall, exploding with colors, and instead of the smiling Cleaver family, it's... No, this can't be real. A nude couple going on their first date? What's happening? In a panic, you look for another channel, quickly figuring out how to use the newfangled remote control you now hold in your hands, but your eyes can't believe what you're seeing. Did I wake up in hell? But something else is different when you look around the room. You're the only one there. Your 15-year-old son is out with his best friend Robbie, who used to be called Robin, back when he was a girl, along with Robbie's 17-year-old brother. They went to see a new movie in the Hostel series where people are tortured to death and mutilated for fun, but hey, at least he's out of the house. It's better than playing Grand Theft Auto for 6 straight hours where your boy's raping women and killing cops on his video screen. Suddenly, you wake up with a start. This was all a dream. With relief, you look around at your wonderful family smiling at their dad who fell asleep in the middle of TV night, and you think to yourself, thank God, this was only a bad dream. There's no way America or my family could ever look like that.
Line of Fire with your host, Dr. Michael Brown, your voice of moral, cultural, and spiritual revolution. Here again is Dr. Michael Brown.
Thanks, friends, for joining us today on the Line of Fire. 866-34-TRUTH is the number to call. There's an article I want to bring to your attention. It ran on Breitbart.com. NPR's Cokie Roberts press corps covered up congressional sexual misconduct for years. According to this article, John Nolte reports appearing on ABC's This Week. National Public Radio's Cokie Roberts admitted that, quote, for years, the female press corps has covered up sexual misconduct on Capitol Hill. While speaking about John Conyers and Al Franken, two Democrats facing numerous sexual misconduct allegations, Roberts let this bomb matter-of-factly drop on the left-wing Sunday show. Quote, I mean, we all talked about for years, don't get in the elevator with him, and the whole every female in the press corps knew that, right? Don't get in elevator with him. Did she mean John Conyers, Al Franken, others? So the question is, why would this be covered up? If true, I know she's saying it, but still with everything, if true, why would this be covered up? And the logical answer that John Nolte supplies and that most others would think is because the members of the press corps are overwhelmingly liberal. Female members of the press corps, just the same, overwhelmingly liberal. And these are their liberal champions. These are the pro-abortion champions. These are the radical feminist champions. And therefore, in a complete hypocritical anti-woman mentality, you look the other way when there are abuses against women because these people are pro-abortion. These people stand for your cause. even though they're demeaning women, even though they're treating women like sex objects, even though they're raping women, according to charges, say, against former President Bill Clinton, even though all these things are happening, you don't talk about it, or you look the other way, or you excuse it, because in the words of Nancy Pelosi, speaking about Congressman John Conyers, these people are icons. Now, again, my challenge yesterday was to use equal measures, equal standards for all. That was my challenge yesterday. My challenge yesterday was to say, look, whether it's Roy Moore being accused, whether it's John Conyers being accused, hold them to the same standard. Evaluate the evidence the same way, treat everyone the same way, and judge things the same way. That's been my plea. That's been my challenge. And look, it's one thing, say, with a family member. It's one thing with someone that you know personally. And someone says, well, you know, they were caught doing this and such, and there's allegations, and you think, oh, I know them. They're my family, okay? And, you know, you could tell me things, you know, about someone I'm very close to, and you better believe I'm going to defend them to the hilt until there was absolutely categorical, undeniable evidence against it, because I know them all these years, all right? That's logical. That makes sense. But I don't know Roy Moore personally. I don't know Al Franken personally. So when charges come against them, even though if I lived in Alabama, I would hope the charges against Moore were not true, and I would want to see him elected as a senator. And if I lived in Minnesota, I would not root for Al Franken's downfall. He's senator from Minnesota, right? But I would not want him elected. So those are my sentiments. Still, I need to be impartial. It's just like a referee reffing a game. That ref has to take no sides. That ref cannot have a preference as to which team wins. Otherwise, their decision-making could well be biased. That's how we must act and live as godly people. That's one thing. It's another thing to look the other way because of a political ideology. In fact, it's the exact opposite. That's ugly. That's wrong. And it's happened in Hollywood for years. I mean, we're hearing more and more saying, yeah, we all knew it was happening, but we looked the other way. Why? Power. Why? These people open doors and close doors. Why? Well, you want to roll, you want to succeed, you got to play the game. I've had people tell me in ministry in years back, not in a corrupt way, not in a morally corrupt way, but in what you might call spiritual politics. I've been told, unless you play the game, unless you go along with the crowd kind of thing, unless you do it our way, you're never going to advance in our movement. And I said, hey, I'm not here to mingle. I'm here to minister. I'm not here to make friends so that after we make friends, it's like, okay, I got your back, you got my back. Oh, I'm all for loyalty. I'm all for friendship. I'm all for relationship building. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to play some game so that a door will open for me and I can preach and say, no. And the thing that's crazy is I've watched God open all the doors. I've watched him open all the doors because he's the one that opened doors and closes doors. And I'm not dependent on a person. I'm not dependent on an organization. I'm not dependent on some political backstage or backdoor arrangements or whatever you call them. I'm dependent on the Lord. And if I honor him, he'll honor me. If you honor him, he'll honor you. If you're faithful to his calling on your life, he will back his calling on your life. And I and a host of others are examples of that and can testify to that. But here, this is what's going on. You've got, say, in the Hollywood setting, from what we understand, Harvey Weinstein obviously being one of the most powerful players in all of Hollywood. So he's going to do what he does according to all these charges. And people are just going to look the other way because you don't mess with him. Because if you do, you got no future in Hollywood. That's the way the game is played. Now, look, when it comes to Congress, can we expect Congress to enforce things in a righteous and moral way? If Congress makes the laws and Congress is making laws to protect those who break laws, can we expect Congress to clean up its own act? Congress to do the right thing? In my mind, no. Are there ethical people in the House and in Senate? Absolutely. Are there God-fearing people? Absolutely. Are there people that would risk their career to do what is right? Absolutely. But, there are various structures and power within the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. There are various people in power. God knows exactly who they are and what they are. All right. We'll let him be the judge of all this. But that basically decide what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. I remember many years ago, I was talking to one of my Israeli friends, and I asked him, how is it that Prime Minister Ariel Sharon agreed to forcibly evacuate, remove all Jews from Gaza, the Jews who had been living there, thousands, for years and years and years, and who had built homes and synagogues and schools, and who were involved with agricultural renewal and were thriving there and living in peace with their neighbors. How do you forcefully evacuate them? I mean, it was traumatic for Israel. The police literally, to pull people, their own people, pull them out like they were criminals. And then they just come and have to live basically in refugee shelters while they get resettled. I said, how could that happen? Ariel Sharon is strong. He's a human bulldozer. And my friend said to me, America has enough clout. America gives enough to Israel. And Israel needs America's help. That America can basically tell Israel, this is the way it's going to be. Now, again, that was his perspective as a very strong pro-Israel Israeli. That was his perspective. Is it true? I don't know. Very viable to me. Sounds viable to me. But the point is that someone's going to basically tell another national leader, this is the way it's going to be. You don't really have a choice here. Because you can't make it without our help, without our giving, without our support. You can't make it without us standing for you in the UN at different times. So this is just the way it's going to be, like it or not. Well, I don't know if they'd put it in those terms, but I could easily see something like that unfold. I could see the same thing happening in Congress. I could see the exact same thing happening. And basically leaders, organizations, committees, whatever, basically saying that's not going to happen. We're shutting this down. You may want to go public with this, but it's not going to happen because we control the flow of information. I could easily see such a thing happening. So how is it that Congress could be forced to clean up its own act? Well, let's say they have to push Congressman John Conyers because there are too many allegations, and even allegations of him using Congress money to pay settlements. All right. He basically said, paraphrase, don't push me too hard or others are coming down with me. What if he does get pushed too hard? What if he decides he's not the only one going down? Or what if too many people just come forward and start bringing allegations against sitting congressmen? Congress may clean house beyond its own choice. It may just have to. I'll explain more when we come back.
Rachaf, rachaf, shake, tremble, hover.
Rachaf. It's a rare word in the Hebrew Bible, but it's well known. It's a verb meaning to hover, perhaps to flutter, shake or tremble in that regard. But it's not the normal word that you find for trembling or shaking or writhing. Rather, it's used in a couple of distinct contexts. In Deuteronomy 32, it's used for an eagle hovering over its young. So the mother eagle, say, flapping her wings over her young and hovering over them. That's a passage that we know when we study the word. But the passage that everybody knows, if they've learned a little Hebrew, is in Genesis, the first chapter, where it says, V'ruach Elohim rachefet al pnei hamayim, and the Spirit of God, or the wind of God, was hovering over the face of the deep. Now, what does that mean? If you are going to misinterpret Hebrew, then you say, well, that must mean that the Holy Spirit was like a bird or the Holy Spirit is likened to a chicken or an eagle or something silly like that, because you don't understand the metaphor or you don't understand the imagery. But what is clear is it does refer to some type of tender care and involvement. Instead of using another verb, the verb that is elsewhere used later in the Bible for an eagle, a mother eagle, flapping her wings, hovering over her young in that protective way. That's what the Spirit of God was doing over the earth in creation. I remember challenging a Jehovah's Witness. They were getting hyper literal with me about things in the Bible. I said, well, then based on that, then the Holy Spirit is a bird based on Genesis 1. So they backed up. But what it does tell us is the tender, loving care and activity of God in creation. Amazing, the great creator caring over the creation and hovering over it as he shapes and forms. You know, it's a funny thing, but I write articles most days of the week. We put out new videos most days of the week. And I always get excited when they go live. Oh, good, it's live. I can share that with us. It's like a kid in a candy shop. I mean, just my great joy. So check out our digital library, friends. Go over to askdrbrown.org, askdrbrown.org. We've got a brand new video up on Nancy Pelosi's double standards, my article, Donald Trump and the Principle of Divine Upheaval. And got another video up, let's see, on those evil white males, just some absolutely outrageous tweets. It's real shocking stuff that's there. Another video, are there things God can't do? A little teaching video that's there. So check that out on the digital library at askdrbrown.org. And while you're there, this is what's known as Giving Tuesday. And so many of you have helped us with a gift in the last few days. I can't tell you how that ministers to us, how humbled I am when funds come in. They all go right back out. This will help greatly as I leave for India, God willing, on Saturday. This will help us so much. So just go to askdrbrown.org and click on Donate. You click on Donate. Your funds will go straight back out to Touch of the Lives to help us continue with our radio and video broadcast, to help us in our Jewish outreach, to help us travel around the world. You know, I've just computed, kind of thinking out loud the other day, that I've spent about 2,000 hours just, commuting to and from India. And then several years, because I've been on well over 150 different ministry trips around the world. In the old days, they'd be as long as a month. Now they're normally several days at a time. But then overseas travel each way can easily be a week. I've spent several years of my life overseas ministering. What a joy and a privilege. So thank you for standing with us. And if all of you do what you can, if you say, you know, Dr. Brown, I really appreciate what you've done, but you know, if I give you $5, that would be a big faith step. Hey, that $5 in God's sight is like $5 million, because He knows what your situation is. And for others to write a check for $5,000 is no different than someone else giving 50 cents. So do what you can. If God's entrusted you with funds, use them wisely. And I believe as you stand with us, that you'll see God's smile is on that you'll see that we are doing what you believe we're doing. We're doing it with all of our heart, all of our soul. So thank you for standing with us on this Giving Tuesday. I'm looking at some of the comments on our YouTube live chat, and absolutely, in terms of what's happening in Hollywood, if you want to succeed, shut up. Seems the same way. You know, business place, I'm sure in the place of business, in many cases, that's the way it works. You know, you're a young lady and you want to get promoted on your job. You're just going to have to take the fact that your boss is going to flirt with you or say comments to you that make you uncomfortable. Maybe grab you a little bit here and there. Well, I hate it happening, but you got to support your family. You got to get through college, whatever. And yeah, this ugly. It's ugly. It's ugly that people abuse others like this. It's ugly. And somehow we need to stand with the women. And yeah, there are men that are victims too. Stand with those who are victims and empower them to come forward. And then when they do, here's our stance. Thank you. Look, we know how difficult this must be to share. Thank you for sharing it. We're on your side. We want to stand with you. Now we just have to verify the information. right? Because obviously you have to, otherwise they're false allegations that can bring people down. And I know I have close friends of mine that have been falsely accused and lost jobs. Falsely accused, just lies about them. I could show you every day lies told about me on the internet. I'm a public figure. It happens with every public figure. Lies told about you. All right, that just goes with the turf. But sometimes it actually hurts someone's career or calling or ministry or work or family or reputation. So we have to verify. But we need to stand with those who've been abused, stand with those who've been harassed, and have a culture that makes it clear this is not acceptable in our culture. And there will be consequences. We need to do that. Absolutely. And when I talk about how Congress might unintentionally have to clean up its own act, if allegations come, and enough allegations that clearly make someone guilty, and already Al Franken and John Conyers have admitted to certain things, well, yeah, read this or that, all right? So the court of public opinion is going to play its role. People are just not going to vote for some who have all these allegations hanging over them, and they've just been covering them up. Now, the case of Roy Moore, either you believe him or you don't, all right? But others, okay, the stuff is known. Now there is no action taken against it. And are they going to be easily reelected? Is their own party just going to have to get rid of them because they're not viable candidates? That could really happen. And then to save face, if enough junk comes forward, somebody in Congress is going to have to stand up and say, well, I don't care who's implicated. I don't care what happens. I don't care what shakes down. We're going to have to expose the junk. Someone's going to have to do it. So willingly or unwillingly, Congress might clean itself up, either with the help of the public or not. Now, appreciate a note from Blake here on our YouTube chat. Christians have been taking care of unwanted children for 2,000 years. Christians used to take abandoned kids off the streets in Rome that were left for wild dog packs to eat. In the ancient Roman world, Greco-Roman world, other parts of the world, an unwanted child would just be exposed, meaning just leave the child, put the child out on a mountain, hill, where the wild animal is going to kill it or it's going to die of exposure. We're talking about an infant. Why? Because you don't want. I already have a girl. What do we need another girl? Child's handicapped. What do we need with a handicapped child? And this would happen, or they'd just be literally flushed into the water system and killed. So Christians stood against this. Christians risked their own lives to rescue these babies. And years back when I was involved with Operation Rescue, when they had an event in the Maryland, D.C. area, remember getting there early in the morning, going with our two daughters to the event. We had a prayer meeting right before it, really seeking God, repenting of our own sin, our own indifference. And there was a great turnout for the event, even though it was secret in terms of what clinic we'd be at. You get the call like 5:30 in the morning to where to show up. Police were notified. Protesters were somehow notified. And I remember being shocked that you had Satanists, you had atheists, you had lesbians protesting at the abortion clinic. I thought, what? Isn't that something? What a testimony against life. Isn't that wild? And you had to, run past the police initially, and then they just let everyone go past. I mean, that was traumatic because I honor authority. But then you just sat down and worshiped and sang and prayed in front of the clinic. And when it came time for us to be carried away by the police, apologizing, hey, sorry you have to carry us. But they knew we were just making that peaceful statement. I looked at our daughters, and I just began to weep. And I remember thinking, girls, look at my eyes. Don't forget this image of Daddy weeping. Because I just felt that's it. That's all we could do. But I knew it was part of a larger prophetic message. It was part of a larger wake-up call. This Saturday, join me, Charlotte, North Carolina, December 2nd. Go to lovelifecharlotte.com, lovelifecharlotte.com. Prayer walk, 9 in the morning. This is going to be historic. Please be there. Tell your friends to be there. lovelifecharlotte.com. See you there on Saturday. See you back here on the air tomorrow.